Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my channel? Thank you so much. My husband's nephew was diagnosed with uremia, and only after his kidney match was successful did he tell me he was going to donate a kidney to his nephew. I was worried about his already weak body and scared that he might die on the operating table. So, I researched the dangers of living with one kidney and showed them to him. Caught in a dilemma, my husband hesitated and hadn't yet donated his kidney. Meanwhile, his nephew's condition worsened, and my sister-in-law grew to hate me. She barged into our home, attacking and cursing me. My husband, however, just stood by as if nothing was happening. He urged me, "Diana, can I really just stand by and watch the child die? You have to understand how a mother feels." I was about to retort, "If you want to donate, then do it. I just can't live my whole life with a husband who has one kidney." But before I could, in her rage, my sister-in-law pushed me off the balcony, and I died from the fall. After my death, I learned the truth. My husband had been having an affair with his sister-in-law for a long time, and he believed that her son was his. That's why he was willing to donate his kidney, but he had azoospermia. I hadn't even had the chance to tell him. The next moment I opened my eyes and I was back on the day he first told me about donating the kidney. "Diana, I really can't just let Ruby die. I watched him grow up and we don't have any children." Oliver's heavy, helpless voice echoed in my ears. On the coffee table was a kidney transplant match result sheet. Scenes from before my death flashed through my mind. Ruby pushing me off the balcony, the feeling of my bones shattering from the impact, the fear of bleeding out. But the image I saw was Oliver gently covering Ruby's eyes. That's when I realized the truth. They had been involved for a long time. Oliver believed that Aaron was his son because they looked so alike, and after the match was successful, he was even more convinced of their father-son relationship. My warnings had only made him think I was stopping him from saving his own child. After my death, not only did he issue a letter of forgiveness for Ruby, but he also pulled strings to have the charge reduced to accidental manslaughter. Ruby was only sentenced to 5 years in prison. I died for nothing, while Ruby, thanks to good behavior, was released after just 3 years. Once she was out, she and Oliver lived a happy life together, and she even cursed me from time to time, saying that if it weren't for my death, she wouldn't have had to suffer in prison. Whenever I think about it, I'm filled with hatred, wishing I could turn into a vengeful spirit and tear them apart. "Diana, say something. Are you still mad at me for not telling you about the kidney match right away? You're both my family. If it were you who needed a kidney, I would have donated without hesitation. Damn this man. He still dares to curse me at a time like this." Holding back my rage, I looked at him with tears in my eyes and said, "Would it even matter if I disagreed? After all, it's your kidney." "Diana, He tried to force a smile, but he couldn't. I once thought he was so selfless that his love for them was boundless, but no, he was just using me as a shield. If I objected, I'd be the villain while he'd remain the good guy in the eyes of others. In my past life, he didn't donate right after I died either. It was only after Ruby begged him repeatedly, even threatening to kill herself, that he finally did it. In this life, if he wants to play the role of a noble father, I'll make sure he succeeds." Oliver reached out to grab my arm, trying to say something, but I didn't give him the chance. I got up and pretended to leave in a fit of anger. As soon as I walked out of the community, Oliver was still sending me messages, trying to persuade me. "Diana, you're all my family, the people I love the most. What do you want me to do?" I watched Sean grow up knowing how sick he is. It feels like my heart is being torn apart. I didn't reply to a single message. Instead, I took a taxi to Ruby's house. How could one person carry on a show? It needed 3 people to complete it. When Ruby opened the door and saw me, her expression first showed surprise, and then she immediately dropped to her knees. Tears streamed down her face as she grabbed my sleeve. "Diana, please, I'm begging you, please save Sean." Neighbors in the hallway quickly gathered to watch. Anyone who didn't know better would think I had done something terrible. This was always her tactic. Whenever there was a conflict, she would slap herself or kneel, and before I could say a word, bystanders would gang up on me, accusing me of bullying a widow. But I wasn't the only one who knew how to cry. I could cry too. I let her kneel there, covering my mouth and sobbing, "But it's a kidney. Oliver and I have only been married for a few years. If something happens to him, what am I supposed to do? The more I cried, the louder I became, leaning against the door frame as if I could barely stand from the pain. Ruby was stunned. She wasn't used to this, as I usually cared about appearances and even when upset wouldn't cause a scene in public. I would usually swallow my pride for the sake of peace. But before she could recover, the crowd began whispering. Ruby's a bit shameless, isn't she? A kidney isn't like an egg. You can't just give it away. Exactly, and now she's kneeling. This is exactly what they call moral blackmail. The words grew harsher, and Ruby, flustered, quickly pulled me inside her apartment. Once inside, she started slapping herself again. Diana, it's all my fault. I'm the one to blame. We won't burden you anymore. I'll take Sean and we'll both die. As I watched her slap herself, memories of her pushing me off the balcony flooded back. I couldn't help but wish I could take over and give her a taste of her own medicine. Before long, her cheeks were swollen, and blood dripped from her mouth. She was really going all out. Afraid she wouldn't be able to continue the act, I quickly pretended to end it to stop her, sighing repeatedly, how could this be your fault? No one wants to get sick, Diana. So you've agreed. Right before I could say anything, she was already impatiently pressing for an answer. I turned my head, tears falling, acting as if I was resigned to the situation. She immediately knelt down again, calling to me repeatedly. Diana, Sean, I will never forget your kindness. Once Sean recovers, I'll repay you by working like a horse and ox. She appeared so sincere and heartfelt, and if I didn't have memories of my past life, I might have actually believed her. Repay me? She certainly repaid me well in my previous life. While she was in prison, every time she saw Oliver, she acted frail and terrified. She claimed I haunted her at night, coming to seek revenge, saying that she couldn't even sleep because of the fear and that she wanted to die to atone for her sins. Nonsense. If I hadn't been busy following Oliver, constantly thinking of ways to kill him, I might have believed I was haunting Ruby in her dreams. If I really had that power, would Oliver still be alive and well? That wretched man had only his mistress, his sister-in-law, in his heart. When she got out of prison, the first thing he did was sprinkle iron filings all over my grave. His hometown is superstitious. Ghosts are said to fear iron. The amount he scattered was clearly meant to prevent me from being reborn. The entire area around my grave was covered in a layer of red-black ash. As he scattered the iron, he muttered, Diana, I had no choice. Ruby didn't mean to push you off the balcony. It's just bad luck on your part. You were an orphan, and even without what Ruby did, something else would have happened. Please just stop haunting her, okay? I couldn't respond. All I could do was helplessly float in the air. I kept lunging at him, trying to tear him apart piece by piece, trying to rip this scumbag to shreds. But in the end, I could only watch as he spread that large bag of iron filings all around my grave. Iron filings can't kill a ghost, but the ugliness of a human heart can terrify even the gods. But even that wasn't enough for them. Not long after, Ruby claimed that I was still haunting her and that I hated her even more. To convince Oliver, she even tied a towel around her neck, leaving red and purple marks, and told him it was my doing. In her dream, she said that I must have found out about the iron filings and that I wouldn't let them off. It only took Oliver a few days of hesitation before he hired a feng shui master from Southeast Asia in the middle of the night, hoping to ensure I'd never reincarnate. They erected a large ascited stone tablet at my grave, telling people it was to bless me and help me reincarnate smoothly. But in reality, that stone had been soaked in corpse oil for 81 days, meant to suppress my spirit and destroy me completely. The immense hatred nearly consumed me. I felt as though my eyes were about to burst from fury, and I wanted nothing more than to leap onto Oliver and tear him apart, to bite off every piece of his flesh. I screamed at the heavens, demanding to know why it was so unfair. So what if I was an orphan? Was that my choice? I had never done anything wrong. I wanted no one to suffer the way I did. After growing up, I donated to orphanages every month, doing good deeds. I married that man with a sincere heart, truly wanting to build a family with him. And what did I get in return? I was pushed off a balcony and killed. Yet that wasn't enough for them. They wanted to obliterate my spirit to ensure I never reincarnate. Why? Why? At that moment, there was a sudden flash of lightning and a loud clap of thunder. A massive bolt of lightning struck down from the sky, aimed at my grave. I thought I had angered the heavens and that the lightning was coming to strike me down. I quickly floated above Oliver, thinking that if I had to be destroyed, I'd take him with me. But instead the lightning hit the stone tablet on my grave, splitting it into pieces. All I saw was a bright flash of white, and then everything went dark. How extraordinary and precious is a second chance at life. I want my revenge, but I won't dirty my own hands. Ruby was still going on, painting a rosy picture of how she would repay Oliver and me once Aaron recovered. Repay me? I learned all about her repayment in my last life. This time let me repay you properly. I wiped away my fake tears, feigning reluctance as I said, "Don't blame me for not agreeing before, sister-in-law. Anyone would worry about their husband's health." She immediately grabbed my hand, gently reassuring me, "Sister-in-law, I understand. It's me and Ruby who have caused trouble for you and Oliver." I slowly withdrew my hand from hers. "Since that's the case, let's not delay any longer. We wouldn't want Oliver's donation to lose its effect." But I covered my face with both hands, bursting into loud sobs. Ruby panicked and asked urgently, "But what, Diana? Whatever you want, just tell me. If you want my life, I'll give it to you." Through my sobs, I replied as if burdened by some painful decision, "It's just that I've had no luck. I haven't been able to give Oliver a child all these years. I've heard that after this surgery, it becomes even harder to have children. Oliver loves children so much, and with your husband gone for years now, why not have Ruby recognized as Oliver's godfather?" Ruby's face immediately lit up, and she went from tears to smiles. "That's no problem at all. If Oliver is willing to save Ruby's life, then he's practically a second father to him. I'll go get Ruby from the hospital right now. After we formalize the godparent relationship, we can schedule the surgery." She looked at me eagerly. I covered my face again, acting utterly helpless, and said, "Whatever Oliver says goes." That night, Oliver returned home after taking a walk to clear his mind. The ever-dutiful Ruby had already prepared a table full of food. As soon as Oliver opened the door, Aaron sweetly called out, "Godfather." Before Oliver could react, Aaron rushed into his arms, full of gratitude. "Thank you for saving me, Godfather. I'll take care of you when you're old." Oliver looked at me in confusion, but I turned away, pretending I was still upset and refused to meet his eyes. Ruby quickly hurried over, gripping his hand tightly. "Oliver, Diana has agreed not to stop you anymore. Let's go get the surgery done as soon as possible. Aaron really can't wait any longer." She leaned against his shoulder, as delicate as a water lily about to be broken by the wind. Oliver wanted to say something, but the two of them, big and small, were already flanking him, chattering away about how Aaron had always seen him as a father and that starting today, he would officially call him Dad. They also talked about how the hospital was busy and scheduling surgeries was difficult. Ruby mentioned that after much effort, she had finally secured an appointment for surgery after dinner, with pre-op tests the next morning and the surgery in the afternoon. Oliver swallowed hard, then looked at me as if asking for help. "Diana, have you really agreed?" I sighed. "Well, it's your kidney. What can I do if I don't agree?" "Diana, I don't say anything." "Oliver, I've already packed your change of clothes. I just hope the surgery goes well." With that, I covered my face and went back to the room, leaving Ruby to handle the rest. Not long after, Ruby knocked on the door. I handed her the bag and even kindly drove them to the hospital. On the way there, every time Oliver tried to say something or hinted at me with his eyes, I pretended not to notice. Ruby was very good at interrupting, either crying with Aaron or constantly expressing gratitude to Oliver. I floored the gas pedal, running a few red lights, and soon we arrived at the hospital where Aaron was staying. Before Oliver was wheeled into surgery, I played the role of a considerate, understanding wife. But once his face turned pale and he was taken into the operating room, I exchanged a few pleasantries with Ruby and then went home. Was I supposed to stay and take care of him? I had so many surprises to prepare for him. I had ordered several carefully selected magazines and books online for him, most of them focused on a single topic: the effects of losing a kidney on the body. I bought the most exaggerated ones, but I also got those backed by data. I stacked the whole set neatly on the nightstand, showing just how much I, as his wife, cared for him. I scattered a few more around the coffee table and sofa, just in case he missed them. After finishing all that, I left the house taking every penny I could. It was still considered marital property for now, so I had every right to spend it however I pleased. I was going to enjoy everything I missed out on in my previous life. Oliver worked at a state-owned enterprise with a modest but stable income. I was self-employed, running a small online store and occasionally writing articles for magazines or blogs. Normally, we should have been living comfortably, but ever since his brother died and Aaron fell sick, Oliver had been helping them out financially. I had been covering most of the household expenses these past 2 years, including the mortgage, leaving us stretched thin. I thought that after all, Aaron was his nephew, and the kid was indeed pitiful. I tried my best to understand and accommodate Oliver, and what was the result? I tightened my belt, lived frugally, only to be treated like a fool. I immediately booked a flight to the Maldives to relax and enjoy life. After his surgery, Oliver called me asking where I was. Lying on the beach, basking in the sun, I answered with a sorrowful tone. I just couldn't stay. The thought of you only having one kidney now and what that means for our future overwhelms me. You were already in poor health with 2 kidneys. How are we going to live now that you only have one? Oliver tried to say something, but since my words were cloaked in concern, he could only say heavily, "So you're just going to abandon me? I'm still in the hospital. Didn't your sister-in-law promise to repay you? Or is she backing out now?" I innocently asked. "Diana, she's her and you're you. We're husband and wife. If you're not here while I'm in the hospital, what's the point of us being married?" His voice took on an angry tone. I was secretly pleased. He had just had surgery, and the more upset he got, the better chance his wound would reopen. Maybe the pain would kill him. "Oh, now you remember we're married? Oliver, did you even consult me when you went for the kidney match? Do I even exist as your wife? You give away your kidney, and now you're blaming me for not coming to take care of you? What do you take me for?" "Diana, I didn't mean it like that." "I do." "Stop. Too much has happened recently. I need to rethink our relationship. Maybe I've been the only one who ever cared." With that, I hung up the phone and blocked his number. The orange clouds spread across the horizon, reflecting on the surface of the sea. Waves rolled in, crashing against the shore as the wind swept them up. I closed my eyes, savoring the rare beauty of the scene, only regretting that I hadn't come sooner. After watching the sunset by the beach, I went back to the hotel and treated myself to a luxurious spa. I lay on the bed, feeling the expert hands of the masseuse, nearly drifting off to sleep as the service ended. Then I indulged in a lavish late-night feast. Salt-baked Boston lobster, charcoal-roasted suckling pig raised on milk. I ordered everything I could. My taste buds were in heaven. When it came time to pay, I noticed dozens of missed calls on my phone. I ignored them, but as soon as I settled the bill, another call came through. It was Ruby's number. Thinking there might be some amusing news, I answered. On the other end, Oliver's furious voice roared, "Diana, what have you done? You spent $35,000 in just 3 days. Do you even plan on living with me anymore?" It must have been from me using his card, and he'd gotten the notification. Living life, who doesn't want to live? Do you think I want this? Do you have any idea how painful these past few days have been for me? Do you know how my heart nearly shattered when I saw you enter the operating room? I can only come out for a walk, seeking some sort of relief. Diana, you shouldn't be spending so much just to distract yourself. I had no intention of continuing this argument, so I immediately said, "Don't call me again. I need some time to calm down. Every time I hear your voice, it reminds me of you going into the operating room." With that, I hung up the phone and blocked that number. I turned to the staff over here and communicated, "Yes, for tomorrow's paragliding lesson, I want that 188, the 22-year-old, the most handsome one. You get what you pay for. For someone that tall, that handsome, and with 8-pack abs, it was only reasonable to pay a little extra." I happily completed the payment. After swiping my card, my phone rang again with another annoying call. Seriously, they were persistent and had switched to a different number. I decided to turn off my phone. A little stimulation for Oliver wouldn't hurt. I just didn't want to be disturbed while I enjoyed my milk bath and beauty sleep. When I woke up, it was another beautiful day. With the help of the young and handsome instructor after my paragliding experience, he enthusiastically recommended diving and jet skiing. It's better to seize the day, so of course I accepted with joy. However, when it came time to pay, the staff suddenly informed me that my card wasn't working. Embarrassed, I left. Who would want to spend their own money on something so expensive? My phone rang again. This time it was Ruby's voice tearfully saying, "Diana, what are you doing? You spent so much money that Oliver got scared thinking you had been scammed. He rushed to the bank to report it, despite the doctor's advice, causing his wound to reopen and bleed heavily. Now he's back in the emergency room for treatment. Oh my God, how is he? Damn it, he can't just die like this. That would be too cheap for him. He's fine. He's out of surgery now and resting. But Diana, what's going on with you? Oh, he's not dead. Thank goodness. That really scared me." I quickly replied, feigning despair. What's going on with me? For 4 years of marriage I hardly ever spent his money, and now after spending just this once you can't handle it? If that's the case, I'll just get a divorce from Oliver right away to make room for you. Diana, that's not what I meant. Stop it. Just leave me alone. I hung up the phone. I really couldn't procrastinate any longer. According to my memories from my previous life, in just over a month 2 unexpectedly good stocks would emerge. If I hadn't managed to get a divorce by then, wouldn't that just benefit those 2 despicable people with my marital property? By the time I rushed back, Oliver had already been discharged. When I opened the door with my suitcase, he was lying on the sofa, looking dejected. You actually know how to come back. Do you still care about this home? He looked at me with disgust. Ruby reached out to grab his arm, tears streaming down her face. It's all my fault. It's all my fault. It has nothing to do with you. She's inherently selfish. Oliver comforted her, patting her hand. I wasn't going to cuddle him. I swung the door open, shouting at the top of my lungs. What do you 2 want? Your relationship is so deep. Why don't you just get married? Why drag me into this? Am I in deep debt to you? Oliver, you're already sick all the time and now you've given a kidney to someone. What am I supposed to do in the future? Am I destined to be the one picking up the pieces? Diana, can you be any more hurtful? He struggled to stand up, but just as he finished speaking, he broke into a violent cough. I squatted by the door, covering my face with my hands and crying. Oh dear heaven, how am I supposed to live like this? Dealing with a sick person like you. Constantly running to the hospital for both kidneys? Is this how I'm going to suffer for the rest of my life? I beg you both, please, if you care so much for each other, can you spare this innocent person? Hearing the commotion, the neighbors all came into the hallway. Upon hearing my sobbing, a kind-hearted person spoke up for me, saying, "You can't treat a kidney like a joke. That's a lifelong commitment. Oliver's health is already poor. He takes medication every few days. Isn't that just taking advantage of Diana?" Someone else chimed in. Exactly. They said he died, and now he's taking care of the widow and the orphan, but he's willing to donate a kidney? Who knows who that child really belongs to? As Oliver listened to the gossip, his face, which was always concerned with appearances, couldn't take it anymore. He broke into another fit of harsh coughing, clutching at his surgical wound, glaring at me as if he wanted to devour me. Diana, are you trying to make me look even more ridiculous? How long are you going to stand there at the door? Ridiculous? You 2 are ruining my life, and I'm worried about looking ridiculous. I looked like I was about to explode with anger. You. Oliver's face turned pale. I thought I felt a bit scared, but I couldn't let him die right now. Just then, Ruby reached out and pulled me into the house, closing the door behind us. I didn't stop her. She knelt down in front of me and started slapping herself, saying, "Diana, it's all my fault. It's all because of me and Aaron that we burdened you." I looked at her with disdain, not saying a word. Her hand was awkwardly hanging in the air. Oliver was pained to see this. He stumbled to his feet to help her and then glared at me angrily. If you dislike living a life of wealth and luxury with me, then just leave. A life of wealth and luxury? You really think highly of yourself, Oliver. Who do you think has been covering our living expenses for the past 2 years? How can you even say that? 4 years of marriage seem to have been a delusion on my part. Hart, we're a couple. Why do you have to be so calculative? Now you remember we're a couple? Did you even consider my feelings when you made that decision? Before I could finish, Ruby interrupted, saying, "Diana, what do you really want? Just say it." She acted like the owner of the house, and I couldn't help but want to laugh. I took out the divorce agreement I had prepared in advance and placed it on the table, saying, "Sign it. I'm making room for you too." Oliver grabbed the agreement, glancing over it quickly. "You want to take the house all for yourself, and you want to take most of the money too?" Actually, I wanted to take it all, but I was too kind. They had spent a lot of money on surgeries recently. If I didn't leave Oliver some money, what if he didn't want a divorce? I covered the down payment for the house, and I've basically been paying the mortgage for the last 2 years. Don't you know where your money is? It's in your family's pockets. But I helped pay it off in the first 2 years. Oh, so you still remember those first 2 years? For the last 2 years, you've been contributing wholeheartedly to someone else's family. Do you have any idea how much I've subsidized this household? If I had known you had someone you couldn't let go of, how could I possibly marry you? You've wasted my time and still want to take advantage of me. I'm taking advantage of you? Do you really think I'm that kind of person? Oliver asked incredulously. Not that kind of person? Then what kind of person are you? How much have you deceived me? Maybe Aaron's father isn't even your nephew. He's your biological son, and you still have the nerve to accept an award for being a model employee at your company. Then she dramatically patted Oliver on the shoulder and said, "Oliver, we owe you this." As soon as I finished speaking, Ruby panicked, looking at me with tear-filled eyes. "Diana, how can you say that about us?" Then she dramatically patted Oliver on the shoulder again and said, "Oliver, we owe you this and we will repay you, but we can't let her throw dirt on us like this. Diana wants a divorce. Just agree to her." Oliver's position was hard, and with his health in such poor shape, he wouldn't dare let me create a scene at his workplace. Both of them had their guilty consciences and could only compromise and sign the agreement. There were 2 copies. After carefully storing mine, I showed a friendly smile and said, "I knew my sister-in-law was kind. I'll leave Oliver in your care, but this house is mine alone. I trust your morals won't let Oliver live off someone else's property." Oliver had Ruby help him quickly pack his belongings, and he called a car to leave. I watched them drag their huge suitcase inside, relieved that I had also hidden some magazines in the suitcase's compartment. This way, on a day when he might feel regretful and lonely, he would see those articles about the side effects of kidney donation and not feel so isolated. Not long after I got the divorce agreement, I urged Oliver to go directly to the court and get the divorce decree. I couldn't wait for the 30-day cooling-off period. I quickly took the property certificate to the bank for a mortgage loan and bought into those 2 promising stocks. In just 2 or 3 months, my assets multiplied several times over. With money, things became much more convenient. Oliver and Ruby were now in their honeymoon phase. I had even seen Ruby sweetly buying groceries while driving past the market. How pitiful. Like me, they had never encountered a good man. I, always eager to help, took a chunk of money and hired a handsome boy toy to give Ruby a VIP dating experience. This made Oliver panic completely, and he transformed into a devoted husband and father, cooking and shopping for groceries, much to Ruby and Aaron's disdain. His cooking would often make him cough 2 or 3 times, which annoyed them even more. Whenever that happened, Oliver would bring up the kidney donation for Aaron. At first, both mother and son would feel guilty and apologize, but after hearing it multiple times, they would retort, "So what now? Should we kill Aaron to return you a kidney?" I didn't want to push too hard, as playing too rough would only benefit him. I had the boy toy leave when Ruby was at her peak and blamed everything on Oliver. The boy toy had great professional ethics. He not only gave Ruby a VIP dating experience, but also provided Aaron with mountain-like fatherly love. With the funding being ample, they enjoyed a few days of happiness, but now that the boy toy was gone, the mother and son had no extra source of income, forcing them to continue living under Oliver. The stark contrast and psychological comparison left an endless amount of resentment directed at the one who had taken away their seemingly attainable luxurious life. But I felt that wasn't enough. After all, Aaron was already 13, and I hadn't even said goodbye to him as his aunt. I intentionally pretended to bump into him near the school, and then rushed into a cafe. He chased after me, saying, "Aunt, what are you hiding from me?" I had treated him well in the past, always buying him clothes and toys throughout the seasons. Was he that young he could fool me and his mother together? He was not innocent at all. I'm not hiding from you. It's just that we shouldn't meet right now. And do you hate me? He pouted, about to cry. But his eyes were fixated on the delicate little cakes in the shop. I sighed and said, "Forget it. You and I are both pitiable people." Saying that, I got up and bought him one. Since Oliver had the incident with the boy toy, he had been quite resentful towards the mother and son. It was only after Ruby had begged him humbly for a proposal that he had calmed down a bit. However, he was no longer as generous with the mother and son regarding money as he used to be. After gorging a few bites, Aaron questioned me persistently. "Aunt, what do you mean, what's pitiable?" I didn't answer him, only shook my head cryptically. Then I reached out as if to ruffle his hair, but quickly I withdrew my hand and said, "Aaron, you have to listen and behave from now on, okay? Your dad is also a pitiable person. He left early, leaving behind a pitiful you. Once your uncle and your mom have a new baby, you must listen even more. Your aunt is planning to leave this city, so take care of yourself." With that, I exited the cafe and he chased after me. I waved goodbye to him. There was still a pile of food I ordered on the table, and since Aaron loved to eat, he wouldn't leave right away. Next to that pile of food was a document about the effects of estrogen on male reproduction. Aaron, despite his young age, was already quite skilled at online shopping. I hoped he wouldn't let me down because I hadn't been able to conceive. I not only got myself checked but also dragged Oliver to the hospital. He felt embarrassed and initially refused to go. But after much persuasion, I finally managed to take him. After the follow-up test results, he left without even picking them up. The first hospital indeed diagnosed him with azoospermia, and fearing that his self-esteem couldn't take it, I didn't dare tell him at first. Later, still not losing hope, I took him to a second hospital. The second test revealed oligospermia, low sperm count and motility, but there was still some possibility of having children. I was ready to tell him the results when I heard about a man at his workplace who had committed suicide due to feeling ashamed after being diagnosed with oligospermia. I was so scared that I didn't dare bring it up again. I just coaxed him into undergoing assisted reproduction. After several attempts, we managed to get 2 viable embryos. He always acted as if it had nothing to do with him. I thought he was different from the men outside, not so concerned about having children and just wanting to live with me. However, it turned out he thought he had a cheap son now and didn't care whether we had kids or not. In his narcissistic delusion, he might even believe that our lack of children was all my fault. Fine, let him be pleased for a few more days. I went to the hospital early and had those 2 embryos removed. Heaven didn't want this man to have children, so why should I suffer along with him? As expected, Oliver became even worse after long-term estrogen use and developed some female characteristics. When he went for a checkup, he finally discovered the secret of estrogen. Furious, he took the test report and confronted Ruby and Aaron. After Oliver slapped Ruby, Aaron, unable to bear it any longer, stepped in and pushed him down, saying, "Who cares about your kidney? If it weren't for you seducing my mom and driving my dad to death, I wouldn't be like this. You deserve it. You'll never have your own children." That kid was surprisingly strong, and Oliver was quite fragile. He was pushed down the old-fashioned stairs and fell, losing consciousness. When he woke up again, he found his leg broken and was showing signs of a stroke due to anger. Ruby and Aaron hardly ever entered the hospital, just hoping he would die quickly. How could that be enough? Just Oliver dying wasn't sufficient. As a conscientious ex-wife with ample financial resources, I quickly found a renowned traditional Chinese medicine doctor to help him recover from the stroke. I visited him in the hospital. He looked haggard and said with deep emotion, "I can't believe it's you spending money to save me. Diana, I'm sorry." Feigning generosity, I sighed and said, "Oh, what's in the past is in the past. Why bring it up? I did hate you at one point. I even suspected you and Aaron were biological, so I secretly had a paternity test done to clear my doubts. Turns out you're just a genuinely good person who likes to help others. What's wrong?" I asked, puzzled. Nothing. His face was turning pale and his hands were trembling. Having achieved my goal, I quickly left. After Oliver was discharged, he directly sued Aaron for injuring him. Ruby, fearing her son would get a criminal record, accidentally pushed him down the stairs again. Oliver remained in a coma for an entire month. Ruby signed a family reconciliation agreement in court. I felt quite regretful. I realized that just using a knife wasn't effective. I was thinking about other ways to add some excitement to Ruby's life. Just then, Oliver stubbornly woke up. He went straight home and set the place on fire, aiming to take Ruby and Aaron down with him. But the fire only took Ruby. Both Oliver and Aaron were severely burned, leaving them disfigured. Afterward, Oliver was charged with arson and was to be sent to prison. Before leaving, he called me, asking if the sperm and eggs I had saved years ago were still there. I mocked him, saying, "What do you think, Oliver? This time you've really ended your bloodline. You'll never have children again. Diana, do you hate me this much? You hate me, yet you still want to save me. Oh, how could I let you die so cheaply? Besides, I'm fine. I'm just stating facts. Even if you still had the ability to have children, what woman would be able to stand your disfigured face? Not Quasimodo with exceptional qualities or a noble soul could bear you. He really couldn't take it. And with just those few words he committed suicide. I kindly went to visit him in the hospital, and he looked at me in terror, blurting out, 'You're still alive. You're back. That's good. Otherwise I'd feel like something was missing.' Even if I succeeded in getting my revenge, I gave him a gentle smile and said, 'If you want to die, then go ahead. After you die, I'll finally get to see how effective the Southeast Asian masters are. The experience of being a ghost and not finding peace isn't pleasant at all, my good husband. You should try it too.' I patted his shoulder encouragingly. After saying that, I turned to leave, hearing his terrified screams behind me. He shouted angrily, 'Diana, you're not human. You're a freak. You're a freak. A freak. Is this what it means to be a freak? I'm just returning the favor. Now they know what pain is. They know what fear is. Were they thinking when they did all those well things?' My encouragement proved to be quite effective. Oliver never attempted suicide again. He was afraid to die and struggled to hold on. However, life in prison was exhausting and busy. He had already lost one kidney and had been severely burned in the fire. His health deteriorated, and before long, he was on the brink of death, begging the doctors to save him. He kept crying out, 'I can't die. I can't die. She will make me disappear completely.' Everyone thought he was just a young man who had done too many bad things in his youth and was now losing his mind. In the end, he did die, his eyes wide open at the moment of death, unable to close them no matter what. The hospital staff had never seen such a look of terror. They thought he must have encountered a ghost, so they even called in a few tawa to deal with the building and calm the other patients. I didn't go to claim his body. The thought of going through that again made me shudder. But someone was waiting for him. Aeon, true to his lineage, had also sought out a master. By a twist of fate, it turned out to be the same Southeast Asian master from my previous life. The massive stone tablet that had been placed on my grave in that life was now replaced with a different grave and a different person. When I heard about it, it felt like a lifetime ago. However, since fate had given me a second chance, aside from seeking revenge, I also wanted to do something meaningful. I went to the countryside to build schools and teach. I traveled to many places. The world is vast, and in this life my journey has only just begun.